Well, Iceland, as the IMF, the head of the delegation that went in to try to fix the place when it fell apart.
What happened to Iceland?
Iceland turned itself into, as he said, into a hedge fund. Yeah. It's a nation of 300,000 people. Yes. So we got to always remember that. You're dealing with Peoria, Illinois.
Right.
And they had 3 banks that had assets of a few $1 billion that in a period of 4 or 5 years accumulated $140 billion in assets. Yeah. So, and became global banks.
And those assets were?
They were everything from Indian power plants to Danish newspapers to British retailers to British soccer teams. Right. They went and conquered the world.
They borrowed
money. They borrowed money from outside and went outside. There were bubbles inside Iceland, but there wasn't enough to do in Iceland. So it was almost all done. And big stuff was outside. And this was a country that had gotten rich by fishing. Intelligently. It was a fishing-based economy. They have very rich fishing grounds, and they have big fishing grounds. And literally, professional fishermen were walking off of boats to become currency traders. And I spent time with one who was a guy who was regarded as sort of a really gifted cod fisherman. Yeah. And you could tell when he talked about it, he was good at it. Yeah. And he was 30 years old. He'd been training since he was 16. That's all he'd ever wanted to do. And then all of a sudden someone says you can make twice as much money going and trading currencies at this bank. And he left the boat and went into the bank, and 3 days later they were letting him trade a portfolio, take risk for the bank. Right. So they were intoxicated by this idea that they were financial wizards. Right. And they actually, this is what a lot of people did in the boom. They created a narrative to justify the circumstance. They told themselves that Icelanders actually were peculiarly well suited to financial risk taking. The world just had not discovered this until now. 1,000 years of poverty followed by some successful fishing, something had prepared them for
They bought the story.
They bought the story. And the funny thing about it is that there was so little questioning of it. In such a small community, you would think that everybody knows each other. They'd know that, they would know that, Stefan, I've known you since you were a boy. You're not a currency trader kind of thing. There wasn't apparently any of that. It was they sort of believed it.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
You don't know anything about currency.
You don't. I mean, it got so absurd that these Icelandic tycoons they bought a big chunk of American Airlines and started to write memos, press releases about how American Airlines needed to change to be a successful business. Now, where did they get this idea that people who basically know nothing can go and buy businesses and run them better than the people who've been doing that business forever? Well, all these Icelandic people have been educated in the American system. They come for postgraduate degrees. They come for college even. They go to Wharton. They get it from us. It was a parody of American finance. It was a parody of the private equity tycoon kind of thing. And they were reflecting a distorted image of ourselves back at us. And the other thing about it that was so striking was how male it was.
Indeed, yes.
It was men. It was men. It was a male-dominated political party that released the banks from regulations, and all the banks were run by and controlled by men. And you're thinking, what are their wives doing, letting this happen, kind of thing? The women clearly just went along because, well, I guess for eons, Icelandic men had known exactly what they were doing when they went to work. They went to fish, and they were the best in the world. And then they tell their wives that, we actually know this other thing, and the women kind of went along. Yeah. And what was riveting is
things too.
When it all fell apart.
And why did it fall apart?
Well, they didn't know what they were doing. Well, I mean, they made massive losses. And the minute the minute that there was any question of whether this was a sound enterprise and they lost the presumption of innocence, the whole thing unraveled. Everybody wanted their money back. They made massive losses in the investments that they made. And there was a run on the country. Everybody who had given the money before wanted it back. But what happens then between the genders is so interesting. It is the moment where you're driving with your wife and you said you know where you're going, and she says stop and ask directions, and you say I know where I'm going, and then you're at a loss, and she gets furious. They threw all the men out of the tops of the banks, and women have come in to be senior people in the banks. They threw the government out of power, and they've elected the first lesbian head of state. And the women have clearly sort of, and I think, in a funny way, that's a model for what should happen in American finance. It is part of the problem with American finance is male overconfidence. And there have been studies that have shown that men left to their own devices with money are the worst with it. They think they know things they don't know, and that are unknowable. They think there can be experts.
But then you would think in the hedge fund business, where the rewards are so bountiful, if in fact you do it well, that more women would be doing it if it's just a matter of what you just said.
Well,
are you suggesting that there's no point of entry for women? Because my understanding that if you can make money and you can get some and make more, then nobody looks at gender.
Not true.
Okay. Even in that business, or especially in that business.
Even in that business.
Yeah. Because it's not institutional as much as it is something else.
It's the decision of who to give money to is still very male dominated. Right. And it helps when you're selling yourself as a money manager, even if you actually can't make money out of money, even if you don't have an edge, if you believe you do, if you believe your own BS,
right,
you have an advantage in raising money. And I think men are better believing their own BS than women. I think that's just generally true. This is the male overconfidence problem.
Meaning that women are more realistic.
Yeah.